Welcome back to the Tastemakers, the podcast where we watch everything and tell you what you should and shouldn't watch. My name is Grace Leeder, normally here with Taryn Armstrong, but Taryn is not here this week. He's been crushed under a house. I don't know if that's the best analogy for Taryn Armstrong. We'll figure it out.
Yeah, under the Big Brother house.
That's good. Yeah, there we go. Well, my co-host this week is Shannon. Shannon, how you doing?
I'm great. I mean, I feel like, Taryn is the original, maybe not the original, but a version of Nessa Rose in that he is crushed by a house every year.
Every year. Mm-hmm. We're like, you okay? And he's like, I'm fine. Figured it out.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel like it's the tastemaker because I've not been watching a lot.
That's okay. Honorary tastemaker.
I watched Wicked Part 1 this weekend, and then I watched Wicked Part 2. So
yeah, this will mostly be a Wicked for Good spoiler-filled recap podcast. What we're going to do first is the usual sort of a little bit of tastemaker business, but we'll leave most of that for Taryn and I to do next week, and then we'll chat about Wicked for Good, and we'll very clearly tell you when we're about to talk about Wicked for Good. In case you haven't seen it and you don't want to be spoiled, you can come back once you have watched it. So we'll do that.
The spoilers are largely Wizard of Oz based, so
that's true.
Hard to spoil. Like my sister-in-law was like saying she didn't want her niece to spoil it for her. We were like, you've seen the stage show and the Wizard of Oz, so not a lot of spoilers, but possibly.
Yeah. Okay, new things that came out this week. We'll do quickly. There's not much news. I don't think that there's much news unless I'm like really missing something. I think we'll save the news for Taryn and I anyway. New things that came out. A Man on the Inside, I feel like is probably the biggest show other than Wicked for Good. Probably the biggest thing that came out this week. I've only watched the first episode of season 2, but I am enjoying it. Did you watch A Man on the Inside?
I watched season 1.
Yeah.
And I just remember it was like a fun binge. Last year.
It's a good
I saw an ad for it and I was like, oh good, we'll binge that this week.
Yes. This is a Michael Schur show. Michael Schur worked on The Office and created Parks and Recreation and The Good Place and all sorts of other things. This is Ted Danson from The Good Place. In season 1, he goes undercover at a senior's home, like a retirement home in a community to try and help somebody solve a crime. In season 2, he's working for her as like a special investigator, and there seems to be various things that might I don't think as much like A Man on the Inside as season 1 was, but I haven't watched much more, so we'll have to see. I do like it. I think it's fun, and I've heard people really like season 2, maybe even more than season 1. Cool. Yeah.
How many episodes is it?
I believe it's 8. It is. I think it's 8, just like season 1. Yeah.
Okay. 8. There's and how long are the episodes? They're short, right?
I was looking this up. I did go look it up, and I saw between 30 and 38 minutes, and kind of like longer as it goes. So like the finale is like 38 minutes.
Okay. Well, that's kind of I feel like for me, there are a few joys in life greater than just like having a good 30-ish minute show to binge and not being like, where's our next show coming from? Where's our next like easy watch coming from? So I'm going to watch this ASAP as soon as I catch up on Traders Canada, which is my main priority.
Also been very good. I really like A Man on the Inside. I do think the only thing that I would take them a smidge shorter than 30. I think 30 minutes should be the ceiling, not the floor, on a show like that, but it's fine.
Yeah.
And then my other thing is I want more episodes than 8. I feel like I've been itching to go back and watch Parks and Recreation because I've been listening to Good Hang with Amy Ball. I caught up, listened to every episode of that, and I've just been delighted and tickled and feel like I need to go revisit Parks and Recreation. And there's 20 plus episodes per season, other than the first one. So that's what I really need.
Well, we used to be a proper country. I mean, it used to be 22 episodes.
Yeah.
Everything we watched was 22 episodes.
You and I we'll run collective. I'll run Canada. I'll be the Prime Minister of Canada. You have a Prime Minister of Australia, right?
Yeah, that's how that works.
Just wanted to make it. I figured that was the
Our Prime Ministers don't date Katy Perry though, although that is a funny thought. Like that's
pretty
a funny
fun.
Vision.
pretty fun for everybody in Canada being like,
really?
Justin Trudeau. Well, he kind of it's funny because I feel like we don't have to do this, but it's very funny. It's very
No,
weird.
Tell me why.
Well, because he kind of had this reputation of being kind of an unserious person before he became Prime Minister, and then I feel like he became Prime Minister and he was pretty serious and pretty progressive, and like did it, and then people hated him, and then he left, and now I feel like he's like, it's like honestly when we look at his whole life, like I feel like being prime minister will be like the like most serious thing he did, and the rest of
Yes.
the life, like he was in a boxing event before he was prime minister. Like there's just all sorts of random. There's a very famous video of him like throwing himself down some stairs. Like he was a very unserious person. It was like no, he's serious. He was serious. He ran the country, and then he was like, actually, I'm dating Katy
Yeah.
Perry. So I think it's very funny.
You know, when you see those things on Twitter that are like people's Wikipedia categories,
Yes.
his could be great. Like if his is like, and then it's like prime minister dating Katy Perry. I don't think it would be personal life, but
relationship
in my
with
mind, yeah, relationship with Katy
Katy
Perry. Yes,
Perry.
yes.
Yeah.
Although, like
Post
you know, like
office.
I mean, JFK was with Marilyn Monroe, right? Is it so different? It is, as I said, as I
That
heard
is
it coming out of
different.
my mouth,
Yeah,
I
that
could
is a
tell it
different
was
thing.
different. Yeah, I
Yeah.
could tell it was different. I knew.
Well, very scandalous when JT got a divorce, I have to tell you, but that's okay. Now he's with Katy Perry.
Yeah.
Okay, briefly, some of the other things are The Assassin is a new television show on Amazon Prime. Seems to be in like there's so many thrillers, like political thrillers out. This has Freddie Highmore, who people might know. I think he was the Good Doctor. This seems to be getting terrible it has like higher critic scores but lower audience score. It seems to be not exactly all the buzz. So I haven't watched. I don't think I will. The thing that I feel like did really blow up my Twitter feed this past week was Train Dreams, Shannon. And do you know, are you familiar with, and you, not that you need to be, but are you familiar with Train Dreams at all?
I feel like I've seen the name. Is that a movie?
It is a movie. Let me sell you on, because I actually do think it was like quietly one of the best movies I saw earlier this year, and I felt like it really resonated, and I'm so delighted that it has resonated with people online. And then the other surprising thing about it, also, I did get last time that I hosted and without Taryn, people were upset that I didn't do what he normally does, which is have the IMDb of the things I'm talking about open, just so people can get a sense of it. Train Dreams is Joel Edgerton, and Joel Edgerton I find to be kind of like harmless, but I'm never like, oh my god, what a performance by Joel Edgerton. There's a show on Apple TV.
Isn't he Australian?
I think he is Australian.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he used to come to my dad's tennis club.
Yeah, yes.
We're going in New South Wales.
Yeah,
that's where I'm from.
Not that I mean I
yeah,
I'm not insulting. I'm sure
fine,
he's personally great.
No,
he's in a show called I believe it was called Dark Matter, which is Josh Wigler and I would talk about that. The show was fascinating because it's every version of an individual, like every multiverse of a timeline. That's like the premise of the show, is that like you could go into any, like there's a multiverse of every world. And yet Joel Edgerton plays the world's most boring, like sort of multiverse time traveler. And so I've always been a little bit like, he's really good, but he doesn't blow me away. I think he's astonishing in Train Dreams. Train Dreams is very quiet. It's the story of a logger. It's beautiful. I would advise some people to, like, it's on Netflix, but if you can watch it in a movie theater, like it's one of the ones I would say go watch in a movie theater. But it's just sort of this like quiet portrait of a man, and mostly about the people who come into his life, and maybe they are in his life for a long time or they're there for a short time, and the impacts that those people have. And I think it's beautiful and an incredible film, and I would encourage everyone to watch it, even if it means you watch it at home on Netflix.
You know what? I Wikipedia'd this entire plot line. I've already read the whole. I enjoy plot lines of movies I won't see.
But you know what? There's no like spoilers to this movie. Like I think you could fully read the Wikipedia page, and you will still be more moved by it than like what happens in the film. I think I think it's a beautiful film that people should go watch. So this came out on Netflix this past week. That's basically it. I saw Keeper in the movie theaters. Keeper is the new horror film from Osgood Perkins, who did Longlegs, and he did The Monkey, I think, earlier last year. This movie was fine, a little bit of folk horror. I wanted to like it maybe a little bit more than I did, but I thought it's very weird. Shannon, do you like horror?
I hate horror.
I don't think you'd like this.
Yeah, no, I've pushed myself for some movies I felt were worth it, like Get Out with the lights on.
Yeah.
At home.
Mm-hmm.
I can't do horror.
Like
I don't even want to do things. When I was a kid, I was scared of like the Scary Movie franchise.
The tags on this are hilarious: body horror, folk horror, monster horror, psychological horror, supernatural horror, tragedy, and then you have to click more and you just get horror. um, and then the other thing I watched in theaters this past weekend was The Running Man with Glenn Powell, who I do think is good. I kind of agree with most people that this is probably. I think it's funny because this is an Edgar Wright movie who did like Hot Fuzz and Shaun of the Dead and Scott Pilgrim versus the World and Baby Driver. And this is a movie that I think, like, personally, the like dial on it is too silly for my, like, I think I want this movie to be a little bit more like serious, but I did think it was kind of a fun actiony blockbuster. And there's also a performance by Amelia Jones, who I'm really liking these days. And she kind of shows up at the end of the movie and sort of stole the show. So that's The Running Man. I also saw this past weekend. You have any interest in seeing The Running Man, Shannon?
It also seemed too scary for me.
I don't think it's scary. It's very
I have
actiony.
a very low threshold for fear.
I mean, when you said that you were scared of Scary Movie.
I mean, yeah, obviously those were comedies. Those were like spoofs of scary movies, and that was too far for me.
Yeah.
But I was a kid, but I don't think I'd like it now.
Well, the biggest thing that's coming this week, I think, Shannon, is Stranger Things is premiering the first 4 episodes of the final season, apparently, which I messaged my friend about this week, and he said, aren't those children like 35? Which seems to be the running gag about Stranger Things. Did you watch any? Probably too scary for you as well.
Too scary for me. Yeah.
Too scary.
I haven't watched a lot of like prestige television due to fear. It's kind of sad. I could probably do it. But...
You probably could do Stranger Things. Stranger Things is well, some of it could be scary. I'm very excited for Stranger Things. I'm slowly working my way through a rewatch. I feel like a lot of people are doing that at the moment, and everyone being like, wow, season 1 of that show is really good. And the rest of it is sometimes good and sometimes not so good. But the final season is coming. And I feel like we have not had a cultural, I feel like the last cultural moment we had, honestly, Shannon, was a year ago when Wicked Part 1 came out. That was the last, I feel like everybody watched a thing. I feel like a lot of people are going to be watching.
No, I think like Severance. Surely.
I don't think Severance is not season 2.
What about like when the White Lotus?
Even the newest season of the White Lotus, I don't think was as big as Wicked. I think like it crossed both the like everybody I know who watches TV and watches movies and everybody else. Like that's kind of how. And like I think Wicked for Good was not as big, but it did feel like a thing where like so many people on Thursday, Friday night, it was like got the Wicked popcorn bucket. Like here I am at the movies. Stranger Things, I think we'll see how good it is, and it's only part 1 of the final season. So
oh my god.
See. Yeah,
you cannot pay them to make a television show. How long has it been since the last season?
A couple years, I think. So the plan is, Shannon, 4 episodes this week for American Thanksgiving. Then in a month, another 3 episodes, I believe, will drop on Boxing Day after Christmas. And then the final episode will drop on New Year's Day. I believe that's the formula. So just hoping people will watch it while they're not at work. That's the plan for Stranger Things. And I'm very excited.
It's like the Squid Game time that they're clearly trying to capitalize on.
That was about a year ago, part 1. The other show I'm very excited about begins is It's Florida Man, which is I believe in the same world as it's Danny McBride, I believe. And I don't know, HBO has just had sort of like the weird comedy thing going on, and so I'm excited for It's Florida Man. It does say it's from the producers The Righteous Gemstones. I'm unsure about how much of this is like a comedy or it looks like reenactment. This is like drunk history, I think, but for Florida Man stories is my understanding of this show. So we'll see. Has a 6.3, probably based on some critics who've seen it so far. I wish it was higher. We shall see. It's Florida Man. And then movies, Zootopia 2. Shannon comes out this weekend. Are you a Zootopia person?
I've seen it. My take was why call it Zootopia, not Zootopia 2, and why not Zootopia?
Zootopia. That's pretty good. So,
or Zootopia. Something you put a 2 in that name. There's a lot of T's and O's.
I think they need the Zootopia. Like
they need the zoo. I think Zootopia. Yeah.
Zootopia is probably. This is my biggest complaint ever. Was do you remember the movie Cheaper by the Dozen?
Of course.
There was a sequel, and maybe this is all part of the bit, but they had a third I believe they have another baby in that movie, and they're the
Yeah,
Bakers, and it should have been Cheapers by the Baker's dozen, because then it was
Yeah.
yeah, but they didn't do that. Which I guess
What do
just
they
again
call it?
cleanly I
Cheapest
think it's just
by
Cheaper
the
by the dozen
dozen
too.
too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I think they just
I
want
don't
the
like
clean like title of the movie, you know.
I don't like when movies are uncreative with their sequel titles. Although, do we think For Good worked? You know, so I don't. Yeah,
We could talk about for
yeah,
the For Good title. I don't have a
yeah.
problem with Wicked For Good. I don't have a problem with it. I
Do you
have a
remember
problem
that?
with Wicked Part 1.
Yeah. Do you remember
Mhm.
last year we did the podcast and we were like, we wonder what they'll call it, and
Yeah,
then they had like announced it like while we were doing the podcast,
literally, yeah, the
like
same
in that
day.
like hour-long period.
I've heard that this movie is not very good, although I've heard Ki Hu
No.
Kwan, who sort of broke out in Everything
Yes.
Everywhere All at Once, sort of had a re-breaking out. I've heard he's quite fun in the movie. This is what I've heard. It also has like everybody famous, so that'll be fun for me to be like, oh, that's that person, and that's that person, and that's that person, which is kind of like one of my favorite things about
Yes,
the
of
movies
course.
anyway.
A great joy.
Um,
It's
so
great
thi-
when you get it right and then you Google it later and you were right.
Yeah, so this is a wide release that's coming out. And there are two limited releases that I want to touch on. Hamnet is for sure one of my favorite movies of the year. I saw it at the film festival earlier this year. I believe it gets a wide release next week, but if you can catch it this week, I was very moved by this film. I do know some people who have felt like it's like very obviously trying to pull on the sad heartstrings too much, and it's not resonating with them, but I really like Hamnet. This is Jesse Buckley and Paul Mescal. The premise is that Paul Mescal is playing William Shakespeare, and it is about the loss of their son, who is named Hamnet, and then he in his grief went and wrote the play Hamlet, which I don't know if that's historically accurate or not, but this film really worked for me and I really love it. It's probably going to be nominated at the very least for Best Picture. Probably won't win, but I do love it. And if that sounds interesting to you, you should go see Hamnet.
I Googled this. What do you think will win?
One Battle After Another, I think is the front.
Oh, right.
Nothing else is kind of, I felt like, certainly doesn't mean One Battle After Another is going to win, but I think at this point it's the front runner because nothing else has. There's a movie that came out, I believe, this week. Sentimental Value had its release, which is probably my favorite movie of the year so far. I don't think Sentimental Value had a big enough like reaction for it to be the front runner. Doesn't mean it couldn't win, but I don't think it like has overtaken One Battle After Another yet.
I haven't even heard of that. If I'm not Googling it, it's not in contention. I
don't think that's like totally wrong.
It has to reach me, surely.
This is Joachim Trier, who did Worst Person in the World. The star of this film is Renee Rensvat. The premise is sort of like Renee Rensvat and Stellan Skarsgård play father and daughter who have a very tumultuous relationship, and he thinks that maybe if he casts her in he's a famous movie director and she's an actress.
I have heard of this.
If he casts her in the movie, that maybe they can like figure out that will fix it, And
it did reach me.
Elle Fanning plays an American actress who's quite good in this movie as well. I love it. Okay, the other one that's in limited release, I believe, it could be wide release, is Eternity. This is an A24 film about the afterlife, starring Miles Teller and Elizabeth Olsen. And I've heard it's great. Divine Joy Randolph and John Earlier in it as well. I've heard this is really, really fun and worth checking out. I have not seen it yet, but I'll be going to see it hopefully this weekend.
I've already told Peter this is my favorite movie of all time. I've not seen it. This is going to be my favorite movie of all time. I know for a fact. I'm so excited to see it. I literally, I think it comes out a week later here than in America.
Yeah.
Elizabeth Olsen, I'm obsessed
I love
with.
her. Yeah, same.
Incredible premise, like great cast across the board.
Agreed.
Is it Divine? Did you say?
Divine Joy Randolph.
Divine Joy Randolph. She's amazing in Only Murders in the Building. Always a stealer.
Yes.
And it's such a great premise. I'm like the second I saw the trailer, I was like, this is my favorite movie of all time. I think it could be that. I'll be really disappointed if it's like a Materialist level disappointment. But then it's also got really.
You didn't like The Materialist?
I really did not.
Yeah. We can talk about that later.
Yeah, I didn't know. I didn't enjoy it. Because I loved Past Lives. I think I've said that on a podcast. But yeah, I expected something like meaningful, and instead I felt it was, I don't know, not shallow, but like it wasn't emotional at all. The leads didn't have any chemistry. I actually delayed a trip to the doctor at the time to go see The Materialist, and then the doctor told me to go to the emergency room, and then I was in the emergency room for 9 hours, just like hating that The Materialist of all them. Like if it had been a good movie, I would have been like, this was worth, because it made me there longer.
If it was Past Lives, you'd be like, whatever.
Exactly. Yeah. Or for Eternity, I can already tell that would be worth it. But for The Materialist, I'm like, I'll delay the doctor. And then I was there for longer because it was like a Sunday night. And I was fine. But my point is, I think I started really hating that movie because I blamed it, but also it just wasn't good.
I mean, I'm a Materialist defender, but I
wow.
it's
me the defense.
Well, I think that I just enjoyed it, so it's not really like it's totally subjective. Like, I just like it's working for me. I think I rewatched Past Lives recently because it came up on this. It's on the New York Times Top 100 Films. So 2 weeks ago, I believe Aaron and I chatted about Past Lives. Rewatching that is like, oh my gosh, yeah, this is perfect. It's like there's no notes. Like I have some notes on Materialist, but for the most part, I think it's actually a very interesting, and there is something to Dakota Johnson I am sort of like intrigued by, but I feel like the thing is like this is for sure the type of movie that there's a level of like it not working that I think is intentional in the film, like some of the the way in which Past Lives is like you almost want one thing to happen, it's not happening, and but like it, you can so forgive it because it's everything else is working, and this is kind of like something kind of like jumbled up in here, and I think that's kind of the point, but alas.
Well, I feel like Dakota Johnson doesn't work for me at all. Like I feel like Dakota Johnson is where like charisma goes to die. And my issue was that she didn't have like the necessary chemistry with anyone, and it wasn't anyone's fault really but her, I feel. I didn't feel like she could carry what was happening, and I didn't really lose myself in like the romance. It said some sad and important things, but I certainly didn't enjoy it. It made me think for 9 hours in the emergency room. However, I also don't think a lot of that was like on purpose. Like it made me think of its flaws.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
The only other thing that comes out this week is the Beatles anthology has
that's cool.
Has been remade by Peter Jackson, who this is the second time he's done this. He did this with he did the Let It Be recording stuff, but I thought was so interesting, and so they've redone this, and he's actually taken all the footage and added an additional episode. So this comes out, I think you can watch it limited in theaters, but it should also be on Disney on Wednesday. Later this week you can watch it, so I'm excited for that. Very excited for that. Okay, let's chat about Wicked for Good, and we're fully gonna spoil our thoughts here. Maybe we could do like very quickly up top. I mean, we don't need to do that. If you watched Wicked and you like Wicked, you'll go see Wicked for Good. And if you didn't watch Wicked and you didn't like it, you're not gonna go see. Like it's not like you need. I don't think anybody.
In terms of recommendations.
Yeah, nobody needs our recommendation about whether or not to go see Wicked for Good, right? I guess is there a world where you really liked Wicked and you want to just let that be that?
Yeah, possibly. Yeah, I think maybe.
We're telling you maybe don't watch it. No, you should go, but you
should go.
You should
go, but you should be prepared. I think a lot of people weren't prepared. Like a lot of people don't know how different the second act is and how much like notoriously worse it is. And I think a lot of people would have really enjoyed the first half and maybe didn't enjoy the second. The best case scenario is that you like love the first half and like thought the second half was pretty good. I guess that's kind of where I am. So,
but we're not telling you to not go. I mean, I get like you'd have to. I mean, like do it if you want. Like, don't go see it if you don't want to. But like, at least wait for streaming. But like, you should eventually watch it.
You should go watch it. I mean, if anything, like some of the best stuff is like I think it looks really good. So like I would go see that in a movie theater.
I agree.
I think it would be crazy not to go see the second half once you've seen the first. However, I do think like you could definitely fall below the line of like liking the first and not liking the second. In fact, many people probably do. But like walking out in the year-long intermission of this 2-part movie, I think would be kind of crazy.
Yeah. So there's a very funny tweet that I saw from somebody I know is where it said their experience of Twitter all weekend was someone being like, oh my God, I can't believe the second movie wasn't as good as the first one. And then people being like, you idiot, it's not supposed to be good. I think because of people's experience with the play, which I will say, so about a little more than a year ago, like last year sometime in the spring, my mom and I went to go see Wicked, and I wanted to see it partially because it was, in Toronto, but also because I knew the movie was coming out, and I was very excited for the movie. So I went and saw the play, and I'm really glad I did. I'm glad my first experience with Wicked was the stage play. Because I loved it. But I will say, I remember like opening the program and being like, oh, they end the first half on Defying Gravity. That's like the best. Like, I think that's the best song. And it was like kind of one of, I think, I kind of knew Loathing and I kind of knew Popular. I think, is there a Glee? Is Kristen Chenoweth, does she do one of those on Glee?
I'm so sure. I'm
sure.
Yeah.
So like, I didn't know, I don't really knew, and I knew it was like, I obviously knew it was Wizard of Oz, but I didn't know exactly what it was doing. But I have the same thought of feeling like I watched the first half and we went in and I was like, that was amazing.
Yeah.
And I will say, like, still to say, my thing is like kind of a little bit like, oh yeah, okay, you're trying stuff with the and I feel like in the play it actually works way better. The animal stuff works way better because from Wizard of Oz you have like the Cowardly Lion. Like, I think the like CGI animal thing is still bugs me, but fine, whatever. And then the second half, you're like, it's, at least they, it's the rest of the musical. This, fine.
And
so,
scene. Yeah.
Yeah. And so that was the feeling I feel like coming out of a lot of the early reviews of this movie. I do feel like because sort of people were feeling like it wasn't, very good, I feel like it lowered the bar in a way for me, where I definitely still feel like it's not as good as the first half. And I think my biggest critique, we'll get into it a little bit later, is that there's probably like not enough. I think the songs are performed exceptionally well, and yet I don't think the like design, the like set pieces of the songs are like they're not like showstoppery in a way, and that like I feel like there's already critique of that on Twitter that we can chat about, but that's sort of my feeling come out of the second half. And I feel like the ending is like at least sweet, if anything. And I think it's good. It's good. It's not bad. Then it's just not as good as the first one. How do you feel, Shannon?
I don't know if I'm between it's not bad yet. I think I liked it. That's where I'm at. Is it good? In ways, like I kind of felt like they did almost as much as they could with it. Like thinking that Act 2 is so flawed. Like Wicked is built, I think, on this incredibly flawed premise where you can tell the first thing they came up with was like, but what if the Wicked Witch was good? Okay. But then they were like, and what if like Fiero's a scarecrow? You know what I mean? Like it's those, and then they're trying to get to those endpoints. It's like the How I Met Your Mother of theater, where it's like it doesn't work, but they like have to get to these
really
like
good comp. Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. And like they have to get to these things that don't make sense. Like you cannot come out of Wicked and have your first question is always going to be, why did Fiero go with Dorothy on that quest? Like right after being turned into a scarecrow. Like we're always going to be, and there's a lot of commentary online. Like
I feel like there's such an obvious answer for that I've seen nobody say.
To keep tabs on Alphabet again, like to try and get back to her.
He doesn't have a brain.
No, he does have a brain. Haven't you seen The Wizard of Oz? It was with him all along.
But he doesn't really have. I mean, if the Tin Man doesn't have a heart, then he doesn't have a brain, right?
No, he's not like a stupid idiot. Like I think the point is like he's like Fiero is meant to be like thoughtless and like unthinking, and he doesn't care about stuff, but he actually does. It was like in him all along. There's so much in The Wizard of Oz stuff I didn't remember that I've like looked up now. That doesn't make sense with Wicked. There's so much that does not make sense. Now then people say, well, like Wicked and The Wizard of Oz are not in the same universe. You're trying to tie it too closely together. It's like, no, that's not fair. I'm sorry. I think The Wizard of Oz is like the most viewed film of all time. If you are going to tie it into The Wizard of Oz, you kind of like, well, some stuff works and some stuff doesn't because it's a different universe. The best, I think I said this a year ago, the best explanation I've seen is that like The Wizard of Oz itself is propaganda.
Yes.
Or so that's why it's different. Or like just because the wizard like leaves, I think maybe The Wizard of Oz is Dorothy's remembering of those events as fueled by propaganda. Like, how does Glinda get her back without magic? In her mind, Glinda has magic because that propaganda works. That's how I put my head around it. But yeah.
The hardest part of trying to figure out how The Wizard of Oz is sort of like canon or in the same universe, because I agree with that. The only part that I think is real hard is like Dorothy wakes up at the end of the
That's I mean, there's a
that's the
lot
heart.
though.
What?
There's more. Yes, I mean, it's meant to be a dream, sure, with people from her life. Also, there's so many things. Like, Glinda doesn't have magic. How does Dorothy get home?
I mean, there's argument. I mean, we can. I don't know how much we want to get into, but like, I'm seeing this debate online too. Which for me, I've heard, the shoes are enchanted.
The shoes are
ruby
enchanted. I
slipper's
thought about
enchanted.
because Elphaba does that. Why does Glinda give her the shoes? That's a crazy thing to do. I mean, I like that they pointed out, but like she's like, I'm a public figure. They do it as best as they can with that. But there's a lot of I mean, in the Wizard of Oz, the witch is really evil. She lights the scarecrow on fire multiple times. She threatens to drown Toto. And she's like an animal rights activist. Like, it doesn't work. Because the thing is, like, it's like, well, what if like the symbol of evil that we thought of in our childhood is not actually evil? And that's like a really interesting comment on propaganda. The issue is like the Wicked Witch of the West is really evil. She does a lot of evil things in that movie. They cannot be explained or justified. So then you just come out with endless questions, and you can't be like, well, some stuff works and some stuff doesn't. And I think that the first act is like unconstrained from that, because it just has this general premise of like, what if she's not evil? You know, that can kind of exist in its own world because it's a prequel. And this is just like going through pains to be so clever that it is, and this has all been said a million times over the last 20 plus years, but like that it is like the Wizard of Oz from a different view, but actually it's like forcing like the least interesting parts. Like the Wizard of Oz is her dad. Like, who cares? You know? So like, I think that people are finding the issue is like Act 2 is a lot of that. It's very confusing.
The part about it
and it's not really as fun as well. I think that people are surprised by that.
Yeah, the part about it being her dad that seems is like the whole point is that he doesn't have he's not magic either.
Well, she's of two worlds, they say. But I actually have a different theory for what, especially that I really like from this movie, of like why Elphaba has powers.
Okay.
I'll just say it now. Because she's truly good, right?
She's truly good.
And that's why I think for me, what I really like that they added with the Grimoire opening for Glinda, and I've seen debate online, like, is that Elphaba trying to connect to her? I think that's very much like Glinda gets her dream of magic, and how does she get it? By becoming truly good. Like, she's been trying to get like power and magic this whole time, but actually by just being good and not focusing on that, she earns it. You know what I mean? Like, it's like,
so by the end, Glinda has magic. Now she does have magic.
I think that she will then start learning the Grimoire. Yes, I think because it comes into goodness. Like, I think that might have been why Elphaba had power too. Like, did we see anyone else, maybe Fiyero, but like be truly good? Like, no, not really, not in the whole movie.
Yeah, I mean, I guess to go back to this point in terms of like, I think like the overarching theme here is that the second half struggles so much because it's trying to jam a thing. It's trying to jam a square peg into a round hole.
And it doesn't fit. It probably doesn't.
Yeah, and it's like, and it like, it's close enough where it's like, you know, again, I also think the movie is, it's really hard for me because I'm both trying to feel like, I think the first movie is so good. I think it's like exceptional. I remember, I feel like the thing for me is like, I went to go see it, and then I took my niece to go see it, and I do not rewatch a lot of things, and I sat and watched the movie again, just sort of feeling like that moment that you can only have, I think, at the movie theater, where you get, or at a show. I think at a Broadway show you can as well, where you sort of just get like all swept up in it. And I thought, and I sort of still, I have like some critiques of the first. I was just chatting with my friend Owen on the way. We're talking about that I was going to go see it the next day. And I think like one of the like Define Gravity, I think, is the best song. And I think like sometimes when I'm listening to the sound, I'm like, oh, they've really like chopped up the song, you know, like, and sometimes I wish it was like more just the song.
Yes.
But it's so minor because the parts that work so well in the first movie, and the second movie is just sort of a little, it's much clumsier. And so I guess I'm feeling like I'm not ready to be like, oh yeah, I think it's good, because I definitely feel like, well, in comparison to this thing, like, you know, it's this. But in many ways, I think I like it more than I think many people came out of the thing being like, it's bad. I was like, I don't actually think it's bad. So.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think it's hard because if you compare the fact that Act 2 is not nearly as good as Act One. So that's the source material they're working with, and they've split it into two movies, which only makes those disparities more glaring. It's by itself. It doesn't. You're not like leaving the theater at least like, soaring through defying gravity to like carry you through the second act, and it's longer, so like those plot elements, like you're only going to have more questions. So I think it's a very hard task. I actually think they did pretty well with that task. I think the performances are amazing. Again, I like elements of the ending and stuff that they added to it. Not every choice was great, but I think that within the confines of that, it's a much harder sell. It's not nearly as fun. This is what I'm saying, is that when people went and watched the first part, and especially like I said, my sister-in-law's niece, like she sees it like a Barbie movie. She had like these big fun theatrical pieces from the first half that really don't exist in this half. There's not any dancing. It's not intentionally really funny. Like I'm laughing. I mean, very small parts. Like I rewatched the first part on the weekend, and it's funny. It's really light, and it's banger after banger. Like you're off to the races with the music from the beginning, and this it's like there's not nearly as many good songs, and the songs aren't as light. It's just hard to do.
It's banger after banger after banger.
It's crazy.
Some Jeff Goldblum and Michelle Yeoh singing, and then banger.
Only at the end though, but only at the very end. You know what I mean? So
I only wanted to do that for the joke.
It's true though, but that is like the one dip. And like I will say, like having watched the first part again over the weekend, like One Short Day without like the shock of the cameos, like for me, like that whole kind of second half and then Defying Gravity being as like stilted as it was, like did drag more, but still it's so forgivable because Defying Gravity is still great. And One Short Day still looks amazing. And you're off to the races. You're getting The Wizard and I in like the first 30 minutes. And then, what is this feeling right after? Here you're waiting like hours, I think, for the first like great song. And I love As Long As You're Mine. And I think No Good Deed was amazing. And For Good is my favorite song in Wicked. And I think all of that was actually great. But A, it's heavy. And B, it took us a while. It's harder to get there.
Even the lightest part of the movie, I'm seeing, or the second one, I'm seeing critique in the sense that like it got genuine laughs out loud in my theater, which is when there's the fight. But that like the first reply to that tweet is like, Nessa is over there like under a building, and it's like, how can it be like it? Like that's probably the time it like lifts it out the most, and even that maybe like it shouldn't have been. It is a pretty, and you lose a ton of like basically like Fierro is now super serious. Nessa is super serious. Bach is super serious. You basically like Bo and Yang. Unfortunately, I can't remember the names of their characters, but they're like non-existent in the second movie. Basically, like they're there a little bit at the beginning. It just is like way more serious, and like you said, it's less fun, which I think is tough for like the big musical thing. And so my critique, Shannon, I agree. Those songs are they're amazing. Like the songs you mentioned, I agree with you that they're great. And I think For Good, I'm like a little bit, I'm like a Wicked newbie, so I'm a little bit still, I think probably in the like, I still think Defying Gravity is probably my favorite, but mostly because like I watched it live and then the movie, and like I've been singing it for like a year, and I just need like, I have not really listened to the For Good soundtrack enough. My thing with the musical numbers in For Good, I know that they are sung excellently. They're sung really well, but I feel like part of the fun is of a movie musical is to like the spectacle behind it. And like, I don't know that I necessarily would do anything different than like For Good. No, For Good is like basically just like rotating around the two of them, right? As they're singing. Am I remembering this correctly?
Yeah.
That, like,
you can't do much more than that.
I know. But then I feel like we don't really get like even Popular in the first one, there is so much like movie funness to Popular. Dancing Through Life is a song that I think I was chatting. My friend Owen was saying that like, he's like, it's probably his least favorite, and it's probably the song that is most improved from Broadway.
Completely agree.
To movie, and that whole sequence, as much as I think it's like too long, it is really good. And like the set design and all of that, and I don't feel like you really ever get a moment like, and maybe I'm just misremembering it, but I really don't feel like you get something so movie musical in the back half. And I think it's just and they even added songs.
Let's talk about the new songs, because I feel like they did not add the versatility to what the second half needed. We got two And I haven't like listened back to them since watching, and I've not felt the want to. So maybe that says something. And it's really hard to come up against like I'm listening to As Long As You're Mine. You know, that's a song I already love, that they're doing really well and for good and everything. But we got like 2 like subtle ballads. I think that if they were going to add songs, like they should have added like a big moving piece. Would that work
I
tonally?
agree.
Like, yeah, at the beginning, if Glinda's putting on a smile, like they got a little bit of that. They did like the reprise of the dance that went viral last year. Let's get a song of what Oz looks like now. Like, let's have it be a showstopper.
Or give us there's been so much like kind of like, you know, filmography of like everybody's friend group in first year of like at
Yeah.
university.
Yeah.
Like do something there. I think like I don't know. Maybe I don't know. I don't know enough to know where to put it.
Do a
I actually don't
showstopper.
know. I
Like,
do
did
think
the
you need
songs
something.
add anything? It made it feel slower. And like Girl in the Bubble, which was Glinda's new song, I think it was shot as a one which is cool. However, I know that like, you know, okay, so like Glinda's having this big like character evolution, so they want to put a song to that. I think it's kind of obvious anyway, but if they want to put a song to that, it needed to be a belter. Like for me, it just felt a little bit flat. And I actually think that the second half of the movie builds momentum in a way that I really enjoyed. From the second that Fiyero turns on the wizard, I was like, okay, I love Fiyero and I love Jonathan Bailey. And I like so I'm like, okay, now we have stakes. And then I went into As Long As You're Mine. And then we shortly after got the fight and No Good Deed. And then they're like going to kill her. And then we get For Good. And then I thought the ending was great. A lot of that is great. I think Girl in the Bubble really, pun intended, like takes the air out of that momentum. And we're just on this like kind of slow Glinda song. Like if you're going to give it, make it like a showstopper. And for me, like it wasn't that. And maybe because I'm like, I don't want to sit through the song I don't know. However, I do think that if the song really grabbed me, like I would have sat through it happily. So I think a lot works in the second half. I think that the first half meanders a lot. I think the stakes feel really low because Alphaba won't be evil. So it's like her plan is like skywriting into like politely ask the wizard to stop. When it ramps up into like she sees the animals and she sets them free, like I feel like the stakes ramp up. But yeah, a lot of that first half was like, Alphaba, what's the plan? What are we doing? And yeah, so I think that half works the least of like both movies.
Well, yeah, because I guess the thing is here is like, yeah, so I agree with a lot of what you're saying. I think that like it does make sense to me, just like if you put it on paper when you're like, we're adding 2 new songs, they basically give one to Ariana Grande and they give one to Cynthia Erivo, and I'm like, yep, that makes sense. But then because I think like so much of this is like, I think your central point, there's 2, I think your central point, which is the tone and like character motivation in the back half is so unfun that like if then they're each gonna sing a new song, if it's in this back half of the movie, they both have to be like sad. They don't have to be, but they end up being sad ballads. Like that does make sense to me. Whereas like at least in my world where I'm like, oh, do a flashback
they
scene
can do
and then
it.
add a new
They
song.
can do something. They definitely at the beginning they could do, I think, like a big spectacle song. I mean, like I honestly feel like tonally we've gone from like movie 1 of Harry Potter to movie 8, but we did it so jarringly. You know, like Harry Potter, like we got there over time. You know, a lot of it in Cedric Diggory's death. But like it was earned. Like I feel like if you were to show someone just movie 1 to movie 8 of Harry Potter in succession, that would be jarring too.
Yeah.
So, and the people who didn't expect that are confused. I thought it was so well acted because I feel like it was actually a tough assignment, and I think they did really well with it.
You know what the thing I give I think Cynthia Erivo, like I feel bad that I'm almost gonna like yada yada because I do think she is incredible, and I think she probably is the best part of I kind of felt like this with After Wicked, that there was kind of this like because Ariana Grande I think was more surprising as being really good in it. People were giving her maybe more like I feel like it's almost seems so obvious that Cynthia Erivo would be really good at this role. So I don't want to then just do the same thing again that I'm gonna do about the first one. But I think I became a little bit of an Ariana Grande defender in the last couple weeks. I had a couple people where I was talking about her and they were a little bit like, oh, you know, like eye rolly. And I was kind of like, I think like genuinely she is so funny. And she was also on Good Hang with Amy Poehler, and I thought she was very funny. She tells us a great story about Frankie coming out to their Nona, and the way she retells and like does the impersonation of her Nona is so funny. And I was thinking that, and that's like kind of the way I was like defending her as an actress. Like, oh, I think she's really funny. And obviously she's an amazing singer. But then I give her credit because in this movie, like, you know, she is there is that one scene where they're fighting where I do think she is funny, but this is a real like dramatic performance I think that she gives, and I think that they're both great on top of Jonathan Bailey being great. I think also Ethan Slater was really good. I feel like I've seen people lauding sort of the Tin Man of it all that I think could have looked really bad, honestly. And you have some other folks, Michelle Yeoh and Jeff Goldblum are fine, but I do think the acting in this movie is really strong. But the other point I was going to make is because you have to stretch this part out to make it, it's shorter by about, I think, 20-30 minutes than the first one. You still have to make this it's 220. And so you're stretching all this stuff, like the scene where all of the animals are going to go hide underground and she shows up and like they do that. Like you're stretching stuff that I think,
could be cut.
Could be cut. So it's a little, I think like the pacing of, I do agree that it does build, but I feel like we spend so much time in that first little bit. You're right. There's no stakes to it because we know that Alphaba isn't going to be evil. Once the movie and the play for that matter, once it like switches into the mode of like, oh, Alphaba will like sacrifice, like like she's going to play the role that they want her to play. Like that to me is interesting. And like we eventually do get there in the movie. Even if a little bit by the end, I'm like, if we're going to do all this to like, just like overthrow the wizard, what's kind of the point? But again, I'm like back to like square peg and a round hole in terms of like the material that they're adapting from. Anyway, I don't even know where I was going.
Yeah, I mean, I think that Alphaba, like, and again on the source material, like her evolution is more murky to me because she's like, no good deed goes unpunished. She kind of like is like, I'll be evil. She does kidnap a child, really as her first act of business in this new evilness. But it also kind of feels like Dorothy had it coming, but she was a kid, so like it's confusing for her as well. And the fact that they were like, you child, go murder the witch. Like, that's how we'll solve this was like a crazy thing for them to ask her to do. So she was put in a tough spot. But I do think it's like, it's a murky one because it's like, you don't actually believe that she's become evil and she really hasn't. And then she kind of like comes back with for good. And all of that, it's not because of the performance and it's not even really because of the movie. Like all of that to me isn't as clean from an evolution standpoint. I think maybe I think about it more because the movie stretches it out a little bit.
That's what, yes, that's the first one, is that like so much of this I think is just like, and I do think probably just from a money-making perspective, this was the right idea to split it into two movies. They made a ton of money. They filmed it back to back, like all good, whatever.
And some people will just see Wicked Part 1 and love it.
Yeah. Who cares?
And it's not dragged down by Act 2.
Yeah.
So they could have just done that maybe. But I mean, I think like Glinda's evolution is really good to me. I think they give her more possibly because it is Ariana Grande. Like I was surprised. I'm like, I came out of this movie, I'm like, this is Glinda's story. And that's never how I felt. Not that I've segmented the musical before, but it's very much to me Alphaba's story. And I feel like Ariana Grande did a great job with this. And they like what they give her in the ending. I'm like, oh, this is Glinda's story. Like I felt, especially in her, obviously having to take it on, we get more of the animals plot point where she really helps them and like she achieves Alphaba's dream. And right. I think that the ending is so good because no one really gets what they want. They kind of get what everyone else wants, but they kind of, I guess, get what they need. Like Alphaba's done all the work. She won't be alone. She gets what Glinda's always wanted, like in ways to not be alone, to be with Fiyero, but she never gets to live in the Oz that she really helped to create. And she can't be with Glinda. So she loses in ways, but she gains for herself. Like she gets to be like, and she never gets to do for herself. And she gets to be with like the first person who's ever really chosen her over and over again, which is Fiyero. Glinda doesn't get the man, which she seemingly wants. She's not with Alphaba. She is adored, which she has, sees less in now than she did. But the great thing she gets is she enacts real change. Like she does good. And through that, she gets what she's always wanted, which is magic. So it's like, there's obviously light and shade and nuance to this ending. Fiyero gets to be with Alphaba, but he's a scarecrow. That one kind of speaks for itself. But I feel like with Glinda, what Ariana Grande did was they made it her story. Like it's wicked for good. For me, the first half is Alphaba's story. Like how does she go to becoming quote unquote wicked in what everyone sees her as wicked? That's how she becomes the vision of the Wicked Witch that we've always known and seen. And Glinda in For Good, it's her story. It's like, how does Glinda become actually good? from what we always thought was good. It's like the complete mirror image. Like Elphaba becomes the vision of wicked in the first half, and Glinda becomes from the vision of good to true good in the end and gains magic from it. And I thought that was really meaningful and very much extended in the movie. So I think that's a credit to those choices, to Ariana Grande's performance, and an evolution that feels actually very earned in a way that's trickier to do with Elphaba, who's a bit more, it's a bit vaguer for me.
I think that I like that a lot, and I also think that like one of the reasons I was so compelled to take my niece was not just that I thought she would love it and enjoy it, but I also thought like, it's a good message in the in the movie. Although arguably by the end of that first movie, you like we don't have the resolution to this idea that like she will be perceived as evil, but there's so much in that in the way that she is being judged for being, and this sounds so silly, I feel like, as if I'm saying it, but I do think it like is so powerful, the message in the movie, that I do think by the end of the movie, especially for what I think is like, also in my perspective, like I think my niece probably relates most to Glinda, actually, because she's a little white blonde girl,
Yeah. He's on
but
green.
yeah. So, she's not experiencing racism in the world. So, the fact that like she will, I think, walk away, and I have not had. She's just saw it last night, and I didn't have a chance to chat with her, but I'm so eager to hear what she thought of it. I do think like I am glad this whole thing, it exists and is out there, because I do think like I do love it, and maybe I'm even now like being like, oh, maybe I love it more than I even thought I did at first. But it is a beautiful story, I think,
Yeah,
even if it's like a little messy, in terms of like, and honestly, it's just because it's so tied to the Wizard of Oz.
Yeah, it gets to some interesting points. You have to wade through a lot of, now Fiero's a scarecrow to get there. But I do think especially the fact that it's not a clean ending really gives weight to that. Like, why can't Elphaba come back if Glinda's taken over?
Yeah.
Why? But no, but the reason is because they still need someone to blame. Like, even in this utopian society where animals get to come back and like live as free citizens, it still necessitated Elphaba being evil, like being seen as this common enemy, and Glinda still needs to uphold that. What does that say about society? Where, like, again, the only way that they could do that, like the root cause was never solved, but she gains what Elphaba always wanted, and Elphaba has to sacrifice what people think of her for that forever and be exiled from, again, a land that she is now saying there's no place like home, and never gets to live in it and never gets to see it. Like, a lot of that is really powerful.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that they kind of nailed the ending on that, because a lot of that is the best thing I think that Wicked is doing. I've also seen a lot of commentary around, obviously, what I will say, even as a Hamilton fan, is like the most complicated love triangle in theater that I can think of.
Love triangle. I believe it's love pentagon, I think. Because Nessa loves Bach.
Bach, Linda couldn't pick Bach out of a lineup. Like, he maybe in his mind, sure.
Yeah, but Nessa loves
Bach.
Bach, who loves Glinda, who loves Fiero, who loves Elphaba.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of people are very, like, they really don't want to accept Elphaba and Fiero. Firstly, I love Jonathan Bailey with everything that I have. Dancing Through Life is my favorite part. I said this a year ago, and it remains my favorite part of the first movie, which is not that good in the musical. Like, listen to them side by side, it does not hit. And I loved him in this so much. Like,
he's really good. That's
what I'm saying. That first moment that really got me was when he turns on the wizard. And there's so much good stuff. I will say, this is the saddest thing ever. Jonathan Bailey was in Sydney. On Sunday night, he went to a screening of Wicked. I was at a screening of Wicked at Ahoyt Cinema. He went in Sydney to Ahoyt's Wicked screening. The night I went to Ahoyt's Wicked screening, he went 15 minutes from my house. But he didn't go to my Wicked screening. It's personal. so painful.
He doesn't get to sing enough, I think, in this. He
doesn't get to sing nearly enough in either movie.
He only sings in Thank Goodness.
Yeah. Which I love. I love it. I'm listening to it on repeat.
He's great.
I think the work that he did dramatically, like, firstly, I will defend Fiero and Elphaba. He chooses her every time. Like, Glinda is flawed. That's what makes the character so great. Like, she takes a while to get there. She takes till the end to get there. Alphaba specifically says, like, come with me. And Glinda says no. Glinda can't get to the point where she will have to sacrifice until she's forced to sacrifice Fiyero. And it pushes her to evolve, which is great. Amazing character development. But Fiyero from the beginning, like, we see him in the end of the first movie, like, leaving Shiz on horseback. I think from that moment he was locked in. Like, even at the beginning where he technically chooses Glinda, I feel like he's like in uni or in college and trying to just like work out how to get out of this tricky situation. Like, I feel like he chose Alphaba every time, and she's someone who's never been chosen, and I will defend that. What a gift that like Alphaba at least gets that and gets to be with him. Yeah, and I think that like I think he does amazing work in this. I think he sells a lot. And yeah, I think the fact that Glinda didn't choose Alphaba in this love triangle, if that's what, and the love that she has, I don't know if it's romantic, I don't know if it's platonic, whatever it is, that's why for good is necessary. That's why they have to apologize and say, I think it's interesting that they say none of it seems to matter anymore. I'm like, Glinda, weren't you like directly part of her sister's death? I think earlier today. I think that was this morning. So,
well,
yeah.
No, she never knew anything about it, right? They just do it without her.
Yeah, it's fine. And then like,
yeah.
And also like Alphaba had stolen like her fiance on their wedding night, which I think was that yesterday? Like that was, but they forgive it, which is great. Like it's more complicated, but it's not as like seamlessly easy as Fiyero and Alphaba have been, which is like, I choose you and I love you. And Alphaba gets that like really like pure love that took Glinda ages. One of my favorite parts as well, like when Fiyero comes in and saves Alphaba and turns on Glinda, and Glinda like gets it. I think because I think a screenwriter even said, I read today, because she loves Alphaba too. She's like, who can blame him? Like he's hurt me so badly, but for something I understand, he wants to protect her, and so do I. I will say my biggest question mark from the movie, and it really bothered me. I was thinking about it the entire night, and it's true of the stage show too, but you can do more in the movie. Why does she just leave Fiyero to die? Alphaba, he's like, go, and she's like, bye. Like, to me, this is the Titanic door of Wicked.
Do you know why? Do you know
because he has to become the Scarecrow.
Yeah.
But and that's the problem with the premise. This is the How Much a Mother of Wicked. However, and that's what I actually watched a clip. That's exactly what happens in the stage show. And he's holding up Glinda, so I kind of get it. There's like a few guards, but it's a movie. Like, she could have tried and failed. You know what I mean? It could be like, I'm taking you with me. And then he like falls off. Like they shoot him down from the broomstick and she like can't go back. There's so many things. It could be like a big action sequence. The fact that he's just like, go, and she's like, okay, maybe see you again as a Scarecrow. I'm going to try fix this. But like, you are going to be left to pretty much be killed. Like I couldn't get past it. It made no sense.
I guess it's fine because at least they end up together. So it's fine. But I guess at that point he's a Scarecrow. So
he's a Scarecrow. But I mean, the thing is, like, she thinks she's leaving him for dead,
right?
And she very much was like, "See ya."
Okay, yeah. So I agree with all that. The thing that I feel like this feels like I've been like super hard on this movie, but the other thing that's like kind of hard, and I think you said it up front, is that this movie looks spectacular. Like it looks incredible. I think the set design and the costuming is so good, and that's just a thing that you can kind of only just say like in that way, in terms of like being complimentary of it, and that's kind of it. But it does just look great. Even like I'm not pro gun, but like the gun looks cool that he like when he like does this scene when he like defends Alphaba. It looks great. And gosh, even I think that the animals being CGI animals are really silly, but like honestly I think that they look fine too. I take it or leave it, like Coleman Domingo. At least it's him. If somebody's gonna get like some Wicked money, let it be Coleman Domingo. That's kind of fun, but mostly I just thought it looked spectacular.
I agree. Like, I mean, if you're kind of there for like the whimsy and the fairy tale element of the first movie, then like for me it's like in that kind of beauty. The costumes are beautiful. Like you get kind of swept away, like when Glinda comes down in that first dress. Like, again, I'm not like, we talked about this with The Crown, like it's not the kind of thing I usually care about, but sometimes you're just kind of awestruck by that beauty. There were things though, like the things that are funny, like there were memes we talked about last year. Like people definitely talked about the sex cardigan.
Yes, that I've seen that. I've seen like I think it was Anne Hathaway wearing a very similar card, and it was like, "Are you wearing?" Yeah, that was very fun. So I went to a showing.
Yeah, it was a Devil Wears Prada. It was. I've seen the same.
I went to a showing, and it wasn't sold out, but it was like busy-ish, and so I got a ticket that was sort of like, you can't buy a ticket here, and you probably can't do it there either, which is like you can't leave one seat empty. So I didn't really want to sit so like I thought I picked a pretty safe, and I sat, there was two seats next to me towards the aisle. Then like a family came where like they put the kids in the two seats. So it's like, I'm gonna move down a bit because I don't want to be like just beside your two. They were like probably like, 6 and 8 ish, so like younger. So I'm like, I'll just move down a little bit. But they talked basically the whole time, and I have to say,
Oh my God.
it would normally be, I actually found it quite endearing because they were super into the movie. They were not talking about other stuff. They were being like, oh my God, that's the Cowardly Lion. Like they were doing this stuff.
Oh my God, that's crazy. That's exactly what they're trying to achieve. So
I
that's
know.
amazing when that happened with
And
a 6 and 8-year-old.
I have to say, I found it incredibly endearing, and it did not bother me in the movie. I think because they were watching the movie and they were like in love with the movie. But my favorite uncomfortable thing was like them like basically being like, what are they doing as like Alphaba and Fiero are in the hideaway, and it's like, oh, and then they pan away, and I'm like, phew, like this will not be awkward for like these two girls like next week. And then they come back and like he's shirtless and she's they're like, oh,
She's
okay,
in the
whatever.
cardigan though.
Whatever.
Thank God
She's
for
in
the cardigan, and that they
She's in
did
the
it for
cardigan.
you. They did it for you specifically. Is that
Thank
she's like
you.
not in like.
She's pretty clothed. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I honestly I've seen commentary on every part of this movie, even the sex cardigan, because people are like, well, Elphaba would want to be like covered up, right? Like she doesn't think she's beautiful.
Right.
But where did she get that cardigan? Like there's just, I feel
Well,
like there
she
was.
made it. I feel like she might have made it.
That's what she was doing for that. I don't even know how long it was. I think there's also commentary on how long it was meant to be, like 5 years or a year, but she wasn't really getting anything done with the wizard. So she just shows up to the wizard with her cardigan. Look, I knitted this. Hey, do you want, like, what can we do together? I just felt like that is obviously what she was doing with her time. I've seen like other great memes. A lot of clips I see on Instagram of like Dorothy trapped in the cellar while they're singing For Good.
Yes, I've seen that as well.
Every take on that makes me laugh. Yeah. Is Dorothy the bad guy? Is that what we
I do love the amount of shade they throw at Dorothy the whole movie. I think that is quite fun. And then I feel like one of the most viral tweets I saw was somebody going to watch The Wizard of Oz saying, about to watch the ops point of view.
Yeah.
I thought that was pretty funny.
I thought about this when I was watching Wicked Part 1. I was like, am I going to show my child Wizard of Oz? Because I'm definitely going to show her like at least Wicked Part 1.
Yeah.
Will she always know? Will she be like what I was with Jonathan Larson movies? Like I saw Tick Tick Boom before Rent. Like will she see Wicked as the actual prequel it's meant to be, and then Wizard of Oz? Like probably she will be born of that generation and born in that world. I think.
I didn't catch this, but I know people have caught the final shot of the scene is the poster homage, which is
that poster. I can't. Even that poster's had so much controversy. Like
yeah, but
I will say this: I will not be gaslit that was a group of friends. Those 5 were not a group of friends. Again, Glinda could not pick Bok out of a lineup. I've also seen commentary on does she recognize Bok as a Tin Man? I'm like, she would not recognize Bok as a human. Then maybe at that point she's like, do I know you? I feel like at that point she'd be like, Bick? Like I think maybe that could have been like in that kind of shot that everyone loves of him looking up at her as the Tin Man. Nessa's not friends with Glinda. Like they were never friends. There's 5, like, did we, like, yada yada over that? This was not, like, a group. Like, they keep, like, there's no romanticism to me of what their, like college days were.
The only thing I like from the shot is there's somebody, I don't know how so many people have gotten stills from the thing. I don't know. There's a lot of photos of the movie out there. I know.
All clips. It's,
there's one faraway shot where basically at least Fiero and Bach look like the Scarecrow and Tin Man, and I'm like, okay, all right, okay, fine, kind of fun Easter egg. Like far away, they're in the silhouettes of like what they will look like. I was like, okay, cool,
love that.
And then the moment where like we get the flash, but you could have just done the two of them, but yeah, the 5 of them being like some sort of friend group. Like when canonically this has to happen between like the dancing through like the Oz dust and
which is like basically like I think we said this last year, like that is all completely skipped over in the first movie. I was like, how long has it been? Like how long does Glinda date Fiero before they go to Oz, because in the first movie, not at all. I guess we're led to believe that like it's been a while, which is fair enough. But like they never built the investment in that group, and it was not. I'm not like that. That is not a group of friends. And also, they never built any reality that even if that's true, like Glinda would be like, even if that time exists, like where have we ever seen any bonding between Glinda and Nessa and Bok to the point where they would all be hanging out in a field for a flashback? Like that was the one time they hang out. Like that was, and then we got a flashback.
They should have just done. They should have done like several different scenes of them, like different people hanging, like different combos of them hanging out. And I feel like
I could never believe that those are friends. Like there's nothing you could do that would make me believe that they.
Is the phrase "in a clock tick" said that much in the musical? It gets said so many times in the movie. In a clock tick, I'll be there in a clock tick.
Yeah, I kind of get it. I mean, it's not something that had ever registered with me before. I've only seen the musical a couple of times. I've seen it twice, and most recently a couple of years ago. But it wasn't one that I had thought of. It's certainly not in like songs that I can think of. I think maybe because it kind of sounds like whimsical. It's a whimsical.
I feel like they're really trying to make it happen, though. You know, but it's fine.
I'm trying to make something happen. It's not going to happen. Yeah, I will say also from this media landscape, it was also another Australian person. That guy who jumped into the red carpet.
Yeah, he's been banned from Singapore.
Yeah, he's been banned from Singapore, and now he's back to Australia. So that's not great. But Cynthia Erivo stepping in front of Ariana Grande there was like kind of the most beautiful thing I've ever seen in my life. Like that guy could have had a weapon. She jumped in front of a bullet. That was incredible.
I do think there seems to be something. I mean, it does not feel like the press tour was quite as it wasn't as like memed, I think, as the first, like, and that's probably just the like holding space for defying gravity stuff in the finger.
Yeah,
but you know, and you probably just don't need to do it because the first one was such a success. They probably just actually didn't need to do as much press for this one. I don't know if that's true or not, whether they did more or less. But there just does seem to be something about Cynthia Erivo and Ariana Grande that, like, you know, if it's all phony and they're not really friends, like,
it can't be phony.
No, I don't think so either. But like,
she put her life on the line.
Yeah, it is quite beautiful, their friendship that seems to have blossomed out of this.
In that moment, like if he has a knife, like she's literally sacrificed her life. Like you don't get to be like, this will be good PR. Like in that moment, she literally thought she could be sacrificing herself for her. I've never seen anything like it. It made me cry.
It is the biggest box office opening for a Broadway adaptation in history. Yeah, broke a record.
This is yeah. I'm coming on here to talk about Wicked, and there were people who are really passionate about Wicked. I really like Wicked. I like a lot of the songs. Like I'll definitely be listening to the soundtrack for the foreseeable future for both movies. But like it kind of, then I'm like, well, you know, this is why I say it can be a little overrated, because it's such a cultural phenomenon. And like it's also perfect to be like, it's got like this green pink thing, and it's like, and I love the way like it does connect to girlhood, and like the costumes I'm wearing green today, you refuse to wear green or pink, even though it was obvious. And I said last week that we should be doing it. But my thing is
IP, like, it's an IP. Like it's Wicked is its own thing, but it's also based on the Wizard of Oz. Like the fact that like
when I was a kid, I had a Glinda Barbie doll before, not about Wicked, like from the Wizard of Oz. And I think that the fact that it has that connection like probably helps as well. And it's got Ariana Grande. We talked about this last year, that it's such a great introduction to theater, the way like Hairspray was for me, you know, with that kind of like really accessible cast in some ways. However, it's just a little frustrating because it is so flawed. You know, like I'm going through and being like, well, why would this character behave this way? And I'm like, I think that it's not even the movie's fault, and it's certainly not the actor's fault, but often like the characters are written in a way that's too thin for my analysis. And I do think there's a lot of amazing theater that rewards scrutiny. Like the more you think about it, like the better it is. And I think that this kind of falls apart the more you think about it, or you have to come up with like reasons, but it is so massive. So it becomes, for me, is that unjustified? Is that like, as a theater lover, am I wondering why we couldn't do that with other shows? Or is it that this is accessible? Is it that the juice is worth the squeeze? Because, okay, get in through this, have your questions, and then like move into other theater that in some ways warrants it more. Does this do enough where that is a reward in and of itself, and that's a win for theater. Like, honestly, as I'm talking about it, probably. But it's just crazy to think of how well it's done when, and like even Wicked itself as a musical had, very kind of a very similar response, like a lot of like critical questions, like some like kind of medium responses to the show and a lot of love from the audience. So if that's what Wicked's going to be, then, it does make theater a lot more accessible. And maybe I shouldn't worry so much about the questions that everyone will have about it and how there's no real justification for some of it.
I think one of the things is like, I feel like I love to talk about box office, but I like to talk about box office because I think it's interesting to see whether something does well or does poorly, and then determines what movie studios will or will not make. Like that's what I very rarely am looking at something and being like, oh my gosh, I made a bunch of money at the box office, so therefore it is good. I think it's more interesting to say, oh, that tells me that movie studios will try to do something akin to that because it made money. But like when you look at like last year's box office, like the 10 top highest grossing movies are not, for my money, the best movies. It's Inside Out 2, Deadpool and Wolverine, Moana 2, Despicable Me 4, Wicked, Mufasa the Lion King, Dune Part 2, Godzilla, X Kong, Kung Fu Panda 4, and Sonic the Hedgehog. That says nothing to me about like the quality of movies, other than like, those movies made a bunch of money. So like in that sense, like just because I think Wicked made the most amount of money, I think it's the one thing I would say is I think it is good because this I wonder whether to some degree this might break the like don't tell anybody this is a musical thing. I think that has been like a mistake, and I think it's been beaten over the head. But musicals can do well and have an audience of people who will pay a lot of money to go see it. So my question to you, Jen, is like, Wicked has been very successful. Is there a musical that you are like thinking could be like the next big movie? I guess these are two separate questions. One is like, do you think there's anything that has potential to sort of be akin to Wicked in terms of being like a sensation, if it got adapted? And then the other one is like, is there something you would just want to see get adapted?
Well, I think firstly, what's hard for me in terms of like the commercial success is like when you relate it to theater, like, that's such a big part of like, there are Broadway shows that close all the time.
Right.
So, and like they actively close, so like the commercial success is so paramount. And then I also think that the other side of that is that as someone who tries to love theater as much as I can here in like Sydney, Australia, I'm going to New York every so often and the West End where I can, with, fewer touring productions than America might get. But I try to really love theater. If this is like what most of my friends think of as theater, like, is that the representation that like I want? So I think that's why I think of it like in terms of just like how it's become like the pinnacle of movie musicals. In terms of like what they could, I mean, obviously Hamilton is like my life, but I feel like Hamilton's like a perfect stage show and there's already like the Disney Plus of that.
It's got to happen at some point, right? The movie version of Hamilton.
But they can't change one thing about Hamilton because that would be a crime against humanity.
I know, I know. You'd have to you'd think he would only ever do it if he was like, I mean, he did like he's a movie person, so that's like I think that's a good thing. And the fact that like he probably would just get creative license to just do it. So it's probably not happening without, like, it's definitely not happening without him. And so
yeah, definitely not. They don't even like license it to children. They think they just did for the first time ever give it to like a high school production, but or like teenager production. But I think the thing with Hamilton is like it's the perfect stage show. Like Wicked gained from being a movie. The fact that they got to like create Shiz as this like Hogwarts style set piece and like have like have like an Ariana Grande play Glinda, like it was actually perfect to be adapted into a movie. I don't think that Hamilton needs to be. I think my question is like there are other movies like I like the same director. I liked In the Heights better than this, but like obviously that's not going to feel as accessible. But I think it's not about like, well, what could they do? It's like, what have they done that will just never be on this scale? When you have questions about the quality of at least Act 2 of this. I think Act 1, to be fair, like maybe that is like the perfect musical, super accessible, really benefits from going from the stage show to the screen. I mean, there's a lot there. The interesting thing about Act 1 as well is it was so highly awarded, right? Like it was nominated for Best Picture. Yeah. It had like 10 nominations, or it had like a lot of nominations. But like Act 2, surely that's not going to be nominated other than for like costumes and like, I mean, you know, way
Yeah,
more.
I think costumes and maybe it could get like, I think Ariana did she get, I can't remember whether either Ariana Grande or Cynthia Erivo were nominated last year,
I
but I
think they
think
both
one,
were.
yeah. So I
I
think
think so.
them getting noms, although it's silly to think that like Ariana Grande is supporting, but whatever.
Yeah, because it really is her movie. Yeah, they both were nominated. It's interesting because I actually think they almost do better work here because they need to. You know what I mean? They can't just like soar on the material. Um, it just feels.
But the thing
You
about
have
Wicked,
to.
it
Yeah.
is, I think it's the highest performing Broadway show that has become a, so like I think the only two that are more successful than it are Hamilton and Harry Potter and the Cursed Child, which are like, yeah, the Harry
In
Potter
terms
thing
of
is
the
like,
stage show.
yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
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 Um,
People love Wicked.
okay, I'll throw a couple. Well, so Merrily We Roll Along is going to be a
I know
movie.
I saw it last year and now it's coming out.
It also is being released in theater. I think I'm trying to see it in the
Yeah.
next couple weeks. It's being released. So there's
Yeah.
two things happening with Merrily We Roll Along. It is being the a stage filmed version of it is going to be playing in theaters, and I think that, am I not? I think I'm right that they're doing a film. They're
They're
doing
doing a film with those actors?
Richard Linklater. It's Paul Mescal, Ben Platt. It's
Oh.
not the same actors.
Oh, I think I did see this.
Beanie Feldstein.
Oh, well,
So
that's not gonna no.
yeah. So
Because
that's a Linklater
that's
movie.
a much harder sell because that's not
Well,
gonna have the songs everyone knows from Glee, and that's not gonna have, like, the pink and green, and it's like,
I,
you know, like, that flopped to begin with, like, that
well,
like, theater audiences couldn't get their head around that until the revival
I
very
agree.
recently.
I think the only thing to me, I think the only thing at the moment I think that could be like as big as this was, like could even get close, is a Hamilton movie. That's
But
the only
even
thing.
Hamilton, like,
I
it's
know.
not as accessible because people
Yeah,
don't I mean, you have to work for it, and believe me, not wait for it, but work for it. I mean, like, look, no one loves Hamilton more than me.
I
I mean,
know
although
that.
I did meet the people who might when I won that Hamilton competition last year and met the biggest Hamilton fans ever.
Yeah,
But, like, I think with Hamilton, yeah, I think that it's super dense. Um, and I think that it just like if you were to say this is based on The Wizard of Oz versus this is based on Hamilton, I mean, certainly international audiences like that kind of means nothing to us. I think Hamilton, like, it's actually the allure of the show. Like people have heard about it, so that would get people. But it exists on Disney Plus, and Wicked is still a bigger deal. And for me, it's like why?
yeah.
Um,
I think the only thing is that like there's some fun in it being like a period piece. I think there's something to that. I think like I can envision the movie there being there's something to, and yeah, but but I honestly don't think it is the same as Wicked, but it's the only thing I think that could like basically make like almost $1 billion is at the moment is Hamilton. um the other one that I see people say could be huge, I've never seen this and I've only heard rave reviews about it, is Hades Town, is the one that
yeah,
people are like, it
no.
could be no, so not this, so I have
I've
no
seen it.
idea.
I mean, I also think Hades Town is overrated. I like
Very
it. I
interesting.
like the music, but it's like again, it's not gonna be nearly as commercial. For me, like not a lot happens. Like if you're worried about not a lot happening in a lot of this movie, like
Fair.
80s Town is gonna be that. And at Hamilton, it's like too much happens. It's like people are gonna be like, it's like you have to
They probably
again, you have
split
to
it
like
into many. I
work
think they'd
for the
split it.
um and I think people say that the second act is worse than the first, but I think they're both so brilliant. It's the second act is harder because it's like more political. Whereas like the first act is like a more seamless like war story. I think people would kind of struggle. I think my question mark is just because like last year when the Wicked movie came out, the Wicked show had just been on a year before, and a lot of my friends were like, "Oh my god, we should have seen Wicked. We didn't see Wicked." I'm like, "You can see Hamilton now. Like Hamilton was playing at the time. I'm like, there were really cheap tickets. Go see Hamilton." Like that's how I've. And then they were like, "Wicked only," and that's why I'm like, "Oh well, that's theater now. That's like theater
Right.
for the masses." I hate coming on this Wicked podcast and being like, but where is Hamilton? Because it's very on brand, and I'm sure incredibly annoying to the people who feel about Wicked how I feel about Hamilton. I think that this actually was the medium to do, especially the first half. Like they did that as well as they could. They got in like a massive pop singer. It is the most commercial. It has so much fun stuff in the first half. This was, I think, the thing.
Yeah.
I don't know another property that feels as like they will make dolls of, you know what I mean? Like, are they going to have Angelica, Eliza, and Peggy dolls? I'd love it. That'd be incredible. Sign me up.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
This
I
is
agree.
perfect for that,
Yeah,
like
it's so
good
true.
as that.
That's the I guess the other. I guess it's hard to see almost anything else as like as like what they say like a 4 quadrant film. Like
And what's
everything
that?
out.
What are the quadrants?
Uh, is it just well, children is one of them.
Yeah. Okay, so that's I mean, like, they'll love like The King and stuff, but it's gonna be tough. Like
Okay,
Hamilton will be tough.
it's male over 25, female over 25, male under 25, female. So like 25 seems to be this like, but that's what is considered a 4 quadrant film, which Wicked I think is, and I think Hamilton is not.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I think that it appeals to more of the masses for sure. I saw a thing that was like, well, I've seen so much commentary about this movie, but it was like, I think that you have to imagine that the targeted Wicked audience has seen The Wizard of Oz. It's like, yeah, and that everyone's seen
Right.
The Wizard of Oz,
Right.
and everyone will see Wicked. Like, what is the targeted Wicked audience? Like, I think it does have wide appeal. I think that they extended that wide appeal with elements of the casting, and the way that it was done. I just think that it's a flawed book. It like the second act always has been, and it just has, and they did pretty much as best as they could with that. So I think that, yeah, I think that it all of its commercial success is like well earned and probably impossible to parallel from a theater perspective.
Okay, let me throw out two more things. I think at least two more that I don't think are Wicked level thing, but I would just be interested in seeing them as movies. Which is at some point they got to do Book of Mormon, right? I feel like it's been out
Yeah,
long
that'd be
enough.
fun.
They got to do Book
But
of
see,
Mormon.
that's not gonna that'll be controversial.
Yeah, I know. It's not Wicked, but and then similarly, it's way too new and it won't happen for a very long time. But at some point, Oh Mary, well, it has to happen. I saw that. It's a show I've seen.
Surely that's too niche. Like that's
Oh,
like
again,
theater,
I'm
theater.
not talking about this. I'm just only saying
Yeah.
these are Broadway shows that I would at some point want to see the movie of. And then the other one is Six. How new is
Yeah.
Six? Six is like
Have you seen it?
2017. No, I've never seen it.
Six, the songs are amazing. The problem with Six is like it's a very interactive show. It's like you're at a concert. It would be hard to do as a movie.
Mm,
It's also, I mean, I guess that they could try and maybe change the book, extend it into a more of like a storyline, and then
right.
have these great songs. That would be that. I mean, they could make Dolls of Six. Like that could have commercial appeal, but you'd have to change a lot of the book. Could be done though. Could
Yeah.
be done in a fun way. Um,
I'm just trying to think of the things
yeah.
that are likely. Like I feel like it's like again, I don't think O'Mara is happening like even anytime soon. I think it's like this new thing where like the I mean it's not a new thing, but like the rotating these like high profile names in New York. I was so disappointed that it was not Cola Scola when I went to go to New York, but then it was Betty Gilpin, which was kind of fun. And that has been great. But I just in terms of like things that are sort of still out on
Yeah,
Broadway.
you know what was hard for Hamilton? It's like my Hamilton because it came out in 2020 during COVID, so it came out on
Yeah.
Disney Plus as like a
Yeah.
recorded stage show, and now they have it in theaters for the 10-year anniversary this
Yeah.
year.
Yeah.
But like it is on Disney Plus. Like I'm gonna watch it on Disney Plus next week, but I'm like, do I have to go to the theater for this? And it's
Right.
like it's a tougher rollout than like Wicked. Was there a stage recording? I mean, maybe not in a way that was like on like Netflix, or Disney Plus. And then they came out with the movie, and that was like the best way to do this. It was like kind of inaccessible, and then it became like so accessible, which I think was really good. Yeah, I feel like I might be too harsh on Wicked Part 2. I did enjoy it. I came out enjoying it, but I can imagine other people didn't enjoy it. I think
this is how I feel. That I feel like I'm coming in and it's harder to talk for a long time about the things I did really enjoy, which I thought it looked beautiful. I thought the performances were really good. I thought the singing is great. Like I don't have a problem with like any of the ways the songs are performed. And I actually probably like it's funny. Like one of my few critiques about the first movie is that like they cut up Defying Gravity too much.
I agree
Where
with
like
you.
I don't
We
think
got
they did
for
that.
good as it was. Like we
Yeah.
got completely.
But my critique about the movie is like, oh, I think you could have done like, and I don't necessarily think it should have happened with For Good, but I think you could have like done more to make like some of those songs visually look like sort of more incredible. Like I think like again, I go back to like both Loathing and Popular, I think in the first movie and Dancing Through Life all have these like visual things that I have a really hard time feeling like they don't all like a lot of the songs in Wicked For Good. They blend together for me, like the visual sequence.
Well, they try
of
to do it for
songs.
Wonderful.
Right.
And I kind of felt like that wasn't working because I was like, why are you dancing with the wizard, Elphaba? What is the plan? So it was a bit distracting, but they try to add to that, I think.
One thing I will say, I don't know, like I'm such a Broadway show and like musical like rookie. I don't know much
I am too. It's something I love, but again, like I don't live in New York.
But I feel like a thing that I really love about Wicked, and it's like, is the way in which like, especially like define all of the and I don't know what the name of this is. Somebody who's smarter will know, but the way in which like songs and notes are like repeated all the way through, like this layering of
motif.
of the motifs, I thought is a thing I thought was like really well done in the second movie as well, where like you're in some other scene and suddenly like the wizard and I motif is like sort of there, which is all, I guess, a riff on over, not all of it, but some of it is a riff on Over the Rainbow. Like again, I don't know enough.
Yeah, it is.
About,
I said that. Yeah, it is.
Yeah,
Well, the Unlimited is the same.
Unlimited
is the of yeah.
Yeah, so I thought that was really good. Again, so I feel like
rainbows at the end.
Yeah, so I came in thinking like I was like, I feel like the things I like are harder to then say, and there are enough, I think, flaws in the second film to feel like we talk about them in a way in which it feels like we're being harsh on the movie. But actually, I think I gave it like 3.5 out of 5 stars on Letterboxd. Like I and I probably could push that up if I thought long enough about it. So like I did like it and I enjoyed it, and I don't think it's bad. For me, the biggest thing is like, wow, in comparison to Wicked Part 1, it's obviously not as good as that one.
Yeah.
So that's tough. You know?
Yeah. I mean, the score is amazing with those motifs. Like, I think, as we said in Dancing Through Life, they were having elements of For Good when, like, Elphaba and Glinda were bonding in the dance. In this movie, I saw as well that they had the Dancing Through Life motif come in when Fiora was being taken away to be killed because Elphaba left him because she just had somewhere to be. So I think that stuff is all... yeah. Bye. I think that stuff is all... Like, I think the score was really beautifully done.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like, there was a lot I enjoyed, but there was but then you're always going to come out and be like, why does Glinda think she died? Like, she knows that water doesn't melt her. What does she think happened?
That's certainly, I mean, again,
I mean, the questions are endless. Like, this is a hard thing to come out of a movie and be like, but why? Yeah, you know what I mean?
I used to say this thing a lot where I sometimes would get frustrated because I would get frustrated that TV networks or studios or writers or directors, whoever, I would be like, sometimes I'm like, oh, I hope you know I'm not as dumb as you think I am. And then sometimes I'd be like, oh, I actually think I'm dumber than you think I am. So I'm like, I actually need this more spelled out. And I think for Wicked, part of it is that like, I wish I was dumber.
Yeah, exactly. I wish I was the kind of person who wouldn't ask these endless questions. However, I am. Mm-hmm. Again, you hope in theater that it's like, no, it has a really great answer that you just hadn't thought of. But I hate to offend the Wicked fans. I don't think that's true. I think they didn't think of it.
Well,
I think
like,
it didn't matter.
I also
the same universe, which is such a cop out. Because
also, like, you and I are in the same world. We're like, like our first experience with Wicked was the musical, and so it's really funny to think about like, what was my brain thinking about like the first time like, Bach became the Tin Man? Was I like, oh my God, that's amazing?
I do wonder about that. I do wonder about people who know nothing about it. And Peter, like, I think I explained it to him, but he won't remember. He hasn't seen anything about Wicked. Should I take him to Wicked and be like, are people surprised about things like the wizard is her dad and Bach is a Tin Man, or is it like so obvious when Fiora's like, for the brainless a million times? I mean, A, are they surprised? And B, are they impressed? I think those are my questions, because we're not coming at it from that angle. Like, I can't remember a time before I didn't know that stuff. So
I think you probably have to be... I think you basically have to be a certain age where, like, if you, like, I do think, like, it's like, I think, like, I want to know what my niece thinks about. Because I think if you're, like, probably Peter, and it's, like, and he realizes, like, he probably doesn't care that much.
Yeah.
Bach is a Tin Man.
Yeah.
Like, he's probably, but, like, a kid being like, oh, my God, Bach is a Tin Man. That's cool,
No, because the Bach is, like, why isn't... I mean, listen to me, the Bach. The kids are, like, why isn't Glinda dancing in this movie? Yeah. I think. Yeah. Like, I think that's their main... I don't think they're like, oh my God, the Tin Man from Wizard of Oz? Like, what is that age?
There's a perfect sweet spot, I think, right now, of like...
It's not. Yeah. Who is it? Who is that person?
Like a 13-year-old who's like,
The 13-year-old wants Glinda to dance. She's like, Chop chop.
I guess.
Where
I don't know.
is, you know,
Okay,
what is,
anyway.
what is the feeling? So
All right.
yeah.
That is Wicked for Good. It was so fun. It's probably, I think we might be breaking the record for longest
Oh
Tastemakers pod.
dear.
I think Wicked for Good
My bad.
is no, it's great. Is deserving of it. But I will say we shall wrap up. So Shannon, what else do you have going on? Where can people find you?
At Shannon Guss, I'm covering Survivor 49. We have Gus and Around. If you look up Gus
Yeah.
and Around podcast on YouTube, or it's on Apple and Spotify, that's where me and my husband Peter talk about our life, our like journey to having a kid, and sometimes media. Sometimes it's like maybe I should show Peter Wicked just for the bit.
It'd be
But
fun. That would
Peter,
be fun.
he has stayed so far out of the Wicked bubble, which is again a pun intended, that he didn't know anything about how it's connected to Wizard Worlds. I explained that to him like 6 months ago.
Yeah.
Like, I'm like, how are you? How do you exist out of this? You know what I mean? Like,
Well, I think just not that I think you're like because you talk like I feel like my the amount that I think you think about Wicked is probably inflated because you've come on the Wicked pod.
well, that is another thing as well, as we're
Yeah.
saying, like, oh, we're the kind of people who have questions about it. It's like we also are people who like our job is like we think a lot about media and often talk about it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I'm not the kind of person who can be like, it's fine. You know, no, it
Yeah.
keeps me up at night to
Yeah.
one, and I'm on Reddit,
And I'm
there
like,
are
why'd they do
people
that?
that-
Why? Yeah.
Yeah.
They're like, yeah. Mhm.
And it's so annoying because you kind of sound like a toddler who's like, but why is this happening? But like,
Yeah.
why is it happening? Like,
Yeah.
and I, you know, and I've seen Wicked so many times, and I'm aware of it, and I'm still like, I just can't imagine a world where Fiero's like, we're off to see the wizard, like he's just been brutally murdered, basically. Like, it's hard to wrap your head around it. But
I do. I don't think. I think you.
To death, but
I think you briefly said it, but I do think the answer is like he is actually going to maybe protect Elphaba. That's the like.
yeah, I mean that's what he does the whole movie, right? He's like
Yeah.
putting on a show to get
Yeah.
to Elphaba to like give her the plan that she's gonna like fake her death. But you think like he and Bok are like, we were friends. We had that montage, and now you're a Tin Man. How did that happen?
So
Do you
the
think they're
last
having that conversation?
the last time I watched The Wizard of Oz, I did show it to my nieces, and we kind of watched, although they were like, we didn't watch the whole thing. I have not watched it. Like, I do wonder whether like I want to watch it. I want to watch both Wicked and Wicked for Good, and then throw on Wizard of Oz and just see how much that hurts my brain, because I do think that's the one. And again, like, yes,
just the clips on
propaganda,
Twitter
but
are
like,
hurting my brain.
yeah. And anyway, the whole thing, like, I don't know why they ever thought they would keep it as Wicked Part 1 and Wicked Part 2. Like, that was silly.
So is it called Wicked Part 1?
No, I think it's
just Wicked.
I think it's Wicked, yeah. But I feel like it
But
maybe
it's titled as Wicked Part 1 on screen.
That's right. I think
they should have chosen it, Lane.
Well, should they have given it a subtitle? Should it be Wicked something?
Wicked Green and Wicked Pink.
I think the one I saw on Twitter that had a lot of was like, I mean, you could Wicked Defying Gravity. I don't think that's great, but
yeah, I think Wicked and Wicked Part 2. Like, why are we changing? Like, but the thing is, I like it because I like how this is about Glinda turning good. So it's Wicked, and then it's Wicked for good. Like,
I like Wicked for good.
Yeah.
I like Wicked for Good. I just think, I don't know. I guess it's fine to be Wicked and Wicked for Good, but my bigger concern is that it's just Wicked.
It said Part 1 on the screen, and then it said for good.
Yeah, but whatever.
Yeah, there are bigger issues. Issues like wide and under.
Yeah,
I could go on for days.
I know. We'll tell you. Okay, so next week Taryn will be back on the Tastemakers. I also did a Taskmaster recap with Haley. We recapped series 20. I'm running for Parade and for Pop Heist, and yeah, this Century in Cinema, recapping the New York Times top 100 films. This week it's Melancholia with Dr. Amanda. I love that movie. I'd never seen it before, and I thought it was really interesting and really great. So check that out. I also was on the Nathan for Us podcast, which is was a Nathan for You recap, but I went on to talk about The Curse, the television show The Curse, and I had a lot of fun, and I thought it was a very interesting discussion. So check that out. We'll be back next week. I'm on social media at Hi From Grace. Back next week with more Tastemakers. Thanks so much for listening. See you all next time. Bye-bye.